I'm more excited for this than I probably should be. Man. Get that out of here. This is gonna be heavy. I should have done this on the floor, actually. Ugh. Active 2.3. All right. All right, what's up, fellas? Well, today is new pressure washer day, so very excited. I have an Active 2.3 here to replace my Karcher 1800 that I've had for the past 3 years. It was a nice starter unit, but time to move on. So let's give this thing an unboxing, see what it comes with, and more importantly, get it all set up and give it a test run. So my F80 has been sitting here absolutely filthy for the past 2 weeks. Haven't had a chance to wash it since taking the kid back to school after spring break, so it's got all of the road grime and bug guts on it, but also some rubber and tar scarring on the front bumper from the shred of tractor trailer tire that went airborne and landed on my front lip. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, when I got back, the garage was getting painted. Everything's been in disarray, and this thing's been sitting around for a week waiting, so I'm super anxious to get this thing set up and tested. And yeah, so let's see how it does. All right, so before we get into opening this up, let's talk real quick about why I went with the Active 2.3 over anything else. I'm always interested in why people choose the products that they do, so I figured I'd talk a little bit about the decision making that went into picking up this unit. So when I got my F80 about 3 years ago, I really wanted to learn how to care for it. I really wanted to learn how to keep the paint clean, learn proper detailing techniques and all that stuff. But like with most things with me, you know, I get into something and then some things stick, most things don't. So I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money right out of the gate on detailing equipment, and especially in an expensive pressure washer, just in the case that I didn't stick with it and ended up just having, you know, my car detailed somewhere else. So with that, I picked up a Karcher 1800. It, you know, was a well-reviewed, very entry-level, very budget model. After 3 years now of using that, I think I am relatively red-pilled into the detail community, and that coupled with the fact that I'm doing the garage overhaul, which includes a wall-mounted pressure washer, it was time to upgrade. So why I went with the Active 2.3? Actually, I was debating on the Active 2.0 and the Blue Clean AR630. I had decided on the Active 2.0 because from everything that I'd watched, you know, reviews and videos and everything like that, it seemed that the performance of the 2.0 was almost up to that level of the AR630, but at less than half the price. So economically, I figured I don't really need the 630. The Active 2.0 seems fine for, you know, what I would need it for. So I was on my way to go online to order that for the wall-mounted setup when I saw that they had the 2.3 available for pre-order. Now, I'm not really much of an early adopter, but in this case, it was kind of like a, why the hell not? You know, Active as a company, which with them, I like the fact that I saw this Obsessed Garage video where Matt reviewed the 2.0, he didn't like it. And I guess the guys at Active saw that and were like, nah, you got some things wrong about that. Let's come on the channel and you know, kind of give you a walkthrough of this unit and show you what's what. So, you know, I thought that was kind of cool. And he did have them on and proved him wrong about, you know, a couple of different things. I like the fact that they did that. You know, I guess most companies just drop a product and it's like, take it or leave it. So even though it was in their best interest to do that because, you know, Obsessed Garage has a huge audience and obviously that would translate to sales and everything if Matt, you know, endorsed it and sold it in the store, whatever. I still like the fact that they took the time to do that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And so I was already headed to buy the Active 2.0 and this again was just one of those, why the hell not? Let's give the 2.3 a try. So that is ultimately how I landed on this. And yeah, I'm super excited to give this a shot. The one thing though, even though I'm not much of a product reviewer, I really tried to go out of my way not to watch any other reviews or read anything about this. I know this unit's been out for a couple of weeks and some of the bigger, you know, YouTube channels probably get these in advance to review to, you know, stir up interest in sales and everything. So I tried not to go review or watch anything. I tried not to watch anything else. Unfortunately, the day before, simultaneously on my YouTube algorithm feed, whatever, showed up Obsessed Garage, Cars with Keeve, and I am Josh V, and I gave in. I couldn't help it. I watched all the reviews, and I didn't want to have any preconceived notions going in, but now I do have one particular about this unit, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm still very excited to see how this thing performs for myself. You know, even though I don't have a whole lot of experience with different pressure washers and I'm not able to compare them against anything else, I still will give, you know, just some general thoughts and ideas about how this unit performs. And in general, if you're going from, you know, an entry-level, you know, cheap pressure washer to something more expensive, some things that you might notice or benefits that there might be from getting a better unit. So anyway, all right, that's a lot of, that's enough of that. So let's get this thing opened up and give it a shot. All right. All right, get this thing opened up. All right, not a bad looking unit. So, comes with a couple of nozzles here. Good rubber padding on the bottom. You can note that, so you can mount this directly to the wall instead of using a shelf like you usually see with most wall-mounted pressure washers. This thing with the cradle here does weigh about, I think it's 49 pounds, 49, 50 pounds. But the cool thing is that you can detach the main unit from the cradle. And so this will easily, I don't know if this will fit on the shelf. The shelf that I do have for the wall-mounted setup is 10 by 20. So this might fit, but I probably would just opt to remove the main unit and sit that on a shelf. So let's get a better look at this thing. So this comes in at about 1100 PSI with 2.3 gallons per minute, 15 amps. So, you know, if your garage doesn't have dedicated 20 amp breakers, no problem, this will still work there. 5-piston pump, and this unit actually is serviceable. So it doesn't have an oil fill or drain, but you can remove the pump head and service it that way if you have to, which is pretty cool because most units you cannot. It's a nice looking design. It's got a very industrial kind of look to it. And I like it. You know, it's kind of tough to dress up the look of a pressure washer, but I think they did a really good job with this. I like the sort of bottle/barrel setup of the actual unit itself. I like it. Again, I don't think I'd wall mount this thing directly. I think I would just take the unit off and put it on a shelf, but it probably would look pretty baller just mounted directly to the wall. And finally, worth noting that the actual unit itself, as well as the cradle, they both independently have their own rubber mount points or feet at the bottom, so that if you have it sitting on something, it shouldn't rattle or anything like that when it's running, which is pretty cool. All right, next up. Now, I won't be using this in my testing, so I have an MTM SG28 pressure washer gun that I'll be using. Anyway, I like the fact that this is detachable. That's kind of cool. And also, I guess these are the screws that you would wall mount them, the cage to the wall, which, I mean, if they're going to include this, I suppose it's sufficient, although I think I might use something a little more heavy duty because, again, this thing is 50 pounds. It's pretty heavy. All right, next box. Pressure washer hose and a foam cannon. That's kind of cool. Again, I have a, what is it, an MTM PF22.2, yes. So I won't be using this in testing when seeing how it does for foam, but if you don't have a foam cannon, you do get one with this unit. Pretty neat. You know, I would generally assume that most people buying this system probably aren't going to use the things that it comes with. You're probably going to use, you know, your own sort of aftermarket stuff, but it is still a complete solution, which is cool. And as for a hose, this feels pretty nice. Like, this is a really nice sort of feeling hose. I think it's 40 feet long. And yeah, so if you're just upgrading from one unit with all stock stuff to the next unit, I think you'd be pretty happy with this. All right, so let's get this thing set up. I'm laughing because this is like the third time I'm trying to say, let's get this thing set up. I keep tripping over my words. Let's get this thing, all right, so Jesus Christ. Anyway, so let's get this thing set up. I'm gonna leave this on the table. Obviously, this is not where it's going to be, but I just wanna get a sense of how well the dampening works on this. If it really sucks, I'll just put it on the floor, ground. I'm gonna hook up the 50-foot hose I have been using, regular gun, get the garden hose hooked up, and let's give this thing a test run. Whew. Let's use the, what is this, the 25? Fun fact, last time the kid was home washing the Supra, I always try to remind him, hey man, when you put these things on, make sure it snaps into place entirely, because if it's not, when you pull the trigger, it goes soaring. Well, my old 25, it's somewhere in the neighbor's yard. I don't know. I don't know if they know. It's over there somewhere. I think it is. It might be in their backyard, actually. Those things sail. Who else is excited for this? I am excited for this. Is it normal to be like this excited over a pressure washer setup? Taking like slow-mo video of it and stuff. That just seems, what world did I fall into? Oh my God. Ooh, water. Gotta have water. A little bit of brown water coming out for the first time. Okay, so as I mentioned, I tried not to watch any of the reviews of this thing before getting a chance to test it myself, just because I wanted to go into it, you know, without, again, any preconceived notions. However, the one thing that I had seen mentioned in the few reviews that I did watch was how loud this thing is. And apparently it's kind of noisy by comparison to an average electric pressure washer. I'm not going to measure PSI, GPM, amperage, or anything like that. It's already been done, and suffice it to say, it is accurate to what the company states. The numbers come in pretty much right on point. However, it's the decibel level that I wanted to get a read for myself. So it's not the most accurate thing in the world to use your phone as a decibel meter as opposed to a real one, but I don't have a real one, and I wasn't gonna buy one just to test this out. So we're gonna use the phone, stand 5 feet away, see how loud this thing really is. And if I'm going to believe the other numbers, then I would suppose that the decibel reading that I have seen come out of this thing is probably the same. But I'm still curious enough to check it out on my own. So dB meter pro. Now my talking right now, just right now, is reading at about 60, between, I don't know, 55 to 65, up to 70 decibels. So just a conversational tone talking at this level is reading at about 60 some odd decibels. So let's see what happens. Now granted, I'm like, you know, a foot away from the phone, whereas I'm gonna be about 5 feet away from the unit. So let's just see what this thing registers as. Oh, that's right. When you get it from the factory, it's in test mode and you have to click the button on the plug. All right, so I guess we're probably about 5 feet away. So let's see. That's not bad. Dude, 80 decibels? That's not bad, actually. I don't think it's nearly as loud as it was made out to be. Hold on. Okay, with the phone right here, right next to this thing, I'm getting 85 decibels. And then over here, I don't know if it's too close and it's, you know, being blurry or whatever, but it's about 82, 83. Okay, so real quick, about the volume. Again, I don't have a whole lot of experience with other pressure washer units, nothing really in the electrical world other than the Karcher 1800. And for all intents and purposes, man, this thing is no louder. In fact, I would venture that it's almost quieter. I'll have to do a decibel reading, and again, I know your phone is not the most accurate, calibrated way to gauge volume, but just, you know, from a one-to-one, which it's not a fair comparison, but still, if I'm talking about my experience in terms of using a budget level pressure washer going up to something like this, and just comparing the sort of everyday use of it, I think the Karcher is louder, and if it's not louder, then it's more annoying. It's more annoying because it has a louder sort of whine to it. It has that sort of long wind down when you let it go. And I say whine, I mean it's a higher pitch frequency when you're running it, and it's a long wind down when you let off the trigger, whereas this, immediately on and off. That is awesome. I love it. And it's a lower tone, so it is not nearly as annoying. Like this, I feel like I could have this mounted over here. It'll be on the wall, but like I feel like I could have this over here and be over there washing my car, and it wouldn't really bother me. I wouldn't need headphones. The Karcher is obnoxiously loud. At least I think it is. So, you know, while I have not in person heard something like a Kranzla, is it Kranzla? A Comet AR630, whatever it is, don't have experience with comparing those different models. This, I really don't think that's that bad. I mean, it might be if you put all of the other pressure washers together, but for someone who's going from a Karcher 1800 to an Active 2.3, I'm actually quite pleased with the immediate turning off when you let go of the trigger, the lower tone, and it's not as loud as I kind of thought it was going to be based on some reviews that I'd read already or watched already. So, okay, great. I am pleasantly surprised. Yeah, that is not bad at all. From here, it's probably about like, what, 10 or so feet away? So I don't think the volume is nearly as bad as I've kind of was led to believe that it might be. And in terms of actual output of water, so this thing being double the GPM of the machine that I have been using, like, yeah, dude, this thing just spews water. It doesn't really feel any less powerful in terms of, it's got less of a kick when you pull the trigger. It's really smooth. The other one had a real kick to it when you pull the trigger. That is gentle. And I kind of like the fact that when you pull the trigger, there's just like a second of sort of like non-power flow, and then it kicks on. And when it does kick on, again, when it starts up, there's no kickback. It's a very smooth. In fact, you can see like I'm, right-hand dominant, so left hand is just kind of hanging here. So I'm not bracing against this or anything. So yeah, that is pretty cool. So let's give this thing a proper trial on some really dirty wheels. That is an insane amount of water coming out of this thing, as compared to what I'm used to. Not a comparison to the Karcher, kind of is, but yeah, that's wild. Good Lord, that's crazy. That is way different foam. That's impressive. It's kind of cool, that's cool, it's interesting. So when you pull the trigger, again, before I had it hooked up to the lance, this is really no different when it comes to the kick that you get when it spins on, meaning there isn't much of one. Again, it's not like a jerking sort of jumping motion, but when you're spraying something, it feels significantly more powerful. So far, I love this thing. And, when it comes to the volume level, the noise of it, which was, I wouldn't say like a chief complaint or anything, but I mean, it was certainly something that was, I won't even say harped on, maybe in one case, but it's just something that was noted that it was kind of louder. And for me, given that I don't have a lot of experience with electric pressure washers and everything like that, it just doesn't seem, in my personal opinion, it just doesn't seem like the volume that it puts out is any kind of a turn off or deterrent or anything that would make me think that like, gee, maybe I should return this and go look into something else. It's just, I don't know, it's just not that bad. That's just absurd amount of water. Dude, that's crazy. And it's so funny, man, like making this video, it seems silly to put the kind of emphasis on stuff like this. But think about it, like for those who, spend a lot of time washing their car or multiple cars or whatever, you spend a lot of time with, it's like a tool. It's like any other tool, right? Something that you use often, upgrade over time, and you get to notice, appreciate the differences and why, one thing might be better than another, especially, given the price point. Now, that's not to say that at the $650 price point that this is the absolute best thing that you can get. Maybe it is, I don't know. It's a little new to tell, but so far, I am not regretting this at all. Like, that's just a monstrous amount of water pouring out of this thing. I would imagine that eventually, maybe you can just purchase the standalone unit. Like, if given the choice, I obviously would not have bought the hose and the gun and the lance and all that stuff that it came with. Like, I would have rather have saved like 50, 75, maybe $100 on all that stuff. But not really a big deal. But it would be cool if they just sold it as a standalone unit. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish washing the car here. So far, highly impressed. Through the foam cannon, the brake buster foam on the wheels is insane. Like that right away is an immediate kind of like, holy crap, upgrade. Aside from all the obvious power differences that I've noted so far. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up, give you an idea what the snow foam looks like on the car. I'm sure that'll be impressive too. And then we'll do some final thoughts and wrap up, all right? Cool. All right, that was a chore because, you know, letting the car sit like that dirty for 2 weeks, trying to get everything off after it's been baking for 2 weeks. It took like half a bottle of Tarex just to get the bugs off in the front. So that was fun. But okay, well, anyway, thoughts, first impression thoughts on a first use of the Active 2.3. I love it, man. This thing is awesome. And I was trying to think through, like, you know, things that I might point out specifically about this unit for this little talk right here. The problem is that I think that not everything, but most things that I would point out probably aren't necessarily specific to the Active 2.3 so much as they are to someone who has been used to using a very entry-level budget pressure washer who has now stepped up to something that is a higher quality. So, like, you know, the fact that the 2.3 GPM, for example, like it's mind-bending going from, you know, the 1.2 to the 2.3 and just how much water that really puts out when you have a properly configured setup. And by properly configured, I mean just, you know, something that has the right orifice size and well, that's really about it because nothing else is configured on it. It's right out of the box, but you know what I mean. Something that is just a better performing unit. So that's not really specific to the Active 2.3 because I'm sure you could say that about if you stepped up another $150 to an AR630 or, you know, I don't know, whatever, something like that in its class, you're gonna get that kind of better performance anyway. But what is it about the Active 2.3 that might make it worthwhile? Well, I guess really on that level, if you consider the level of performance that you're getting for the price range, 650 bucks, you know, talk about the look of it, right? So look, I don't know, looks cool. It's got a cool industrial look. I'm sure it'll look awesome on a shelf. Can't wait to get that up there. But also the sound, I guess, right? So I touched on the sound a bit earlier. I don't know, man. I'm not bothered by the way that this thing sounds. In fact, if anything, it's more of a pleasing experience also. So this thing has a deeper tone, sounds like an air compressor, instant on and off, which I love, and volume, right? I just don't think that it sounds all of that loud. Now, again, this is coming from somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of experience with a bunch of different units. I don't spend my time testing multiple machines and doing all that stuff. It's just going from one unit to another. I just don't think it's that much louder. And if it is, then you're maybe talking about a couple of decibels, but my perception of this unit is that it's actually quieter than the Karcher, even though it might not be. It seems quieter because the tone is lower and you don't have that annoying wind down when you let off the trigger. So my perception is that this is overall just a more pleasing sounding unit to use. It's not fun to sit here and listen to a pressure washer anyway, but if I'm picking one, this one is much more pleasant. That said, you know, if you are someone who is extremely particular about sound, you might not like it. You might find that it's too loud. It might be an issue for you. But for someone who is not overly experienced with a bunch of different pressure washers, I don't mind it at all. So, all right, when you take the looks of it into consideration and the sound of it, then what's left is just, you know, its usability, its power. Here's two things that I also think is cool about it. That again, it's just more of a mark of a better pressure washer, but whatever. One is the foam. So foaming with this thing is insane. I was impressed when I first got the MTM PF22 and it was like, wow, that's awesome, foam. Apparently the foam can be even foamier, sudsier, whatever, I don't know. Using this with the foam cannon, it's a lot sudsier. So by that measure, maybe you're using a little less product because it does a better job at foaming. I don't know. But the foam is much better. The other thing is when you are rinsing off the foam. I mean, I feel like I spent way less time spraying the car down just because of the volume of water we were throwing at it and getting that soap off. And again, a lot of these things, I realize that they aren't specific to the Active. They are just, you know, byproducts of getting a better pressure washer. If you're sitting here with an Active 2.0 and you're wondering whether or not it's worth upgrading to an Active 2.3, clearly this is not the review for you because I don't know. If you are, you know, if you have a 1.2 GPM-ish pressure washer and you want to use something and you want to pick up something that is a lot better, highly recommend giving this one a shot. I don't think the noise is that bad. And by not that bad, I mean, it's just not a factor at all to me. But yeah, this has made the car washing experience significantly more enjoyable. So money well spent, can't wait to get it on a wall. All right guys, well I think that is about it for this one. So hope you have enjoyed this review. I'll leave a link to this in the description below if you want to pick one up. But yeah, man, high marks for this thing. So anyway, again, hope you liked the video. And if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Well, it's been a good run. Maybe we'll repurpose you for, you know, outside stuff. Good times.